What are some dark secrets of working at a casino? During my 8-hour shift, a gentleman won $15,000 on a slot machine. Punched out at end of shift and had the next 2 days off. Returned to work after my weekend to find the man still sitting at the same slot machine. He had been there for 2 days, losing $15,000. Casinos are a last stop for many people on their decision to commit suicide. Many will gamble and drink what bit they have left, get a room and end it. Lots of suicide on the strip. I worked as a cage cashier. I have seen people come in on payday and spend every penny, and then they come back demanding their money back because they need it for rent, medications, and food. I would just get security to remove them from the window. Witnessing the human cost of gambling addiction. Check cashing, loans, kids in cars in the parking lot, piss and shit on seats, follow on addictions like chain smoking, vaping and dip, the sadness and regret when people are leaving, the declined messages on the ATMs. I work at a casino, was a cage cashier, a main banker, and now I'm BSA compliance officer. Don't gamble, the house always wins. We track our chips because gangs will buy a bunch, use them as currency. We can adjust the payout rates of any slot machine. We are watching you, and if you win or lose enough, we will do a background check on you. My brother works in one and he tells me a lot of stuff that happens there. Grandparents that spend money for their nephew's birthday. A very tired man didn't realize he spent 24 hours gambling on the machines. A woman crying because she lost all her money and now she can't pay rent. At least one old person dies there every month there, and when the paramedics take the dead body, another old person sits on that chair. I really don't know how he can still work in there. Apparently there's plenty of suicide at these places. People will take out a loan and lose it and just off themselves in the bathroom. I'm a dealer, worked last 15 years on 3 continents, seen princes that gamble my 10-year income on 2 hours, and seen people with 5 winning 100k and after losing it. Is no secret, no black magic thing. What everyone should understand is that all odds are against you. The dark secret is that it's not actually that interesting because the whole industry is heavily regulated. Everything is above board, you just lose all your money because of math. I saw 2 grown men ugly crying because they had just lost their house, kids' tuition something, and kids at the edge of the casino floor watching their mom at the slot machine. What really shook me, though, was hearing items fall out the top floor of the hotel. Then came a really big boom. Some gambler guy used the TV and whatnot to smash through his locked hotel window so he could jump out himself. Dust from the ceiling rained down on me. I won a 10k jackpot on slots. I flipped out, but no light, siren, bells or whistles. The machine just sat there. Had my sister go get her employee to tell me what happened. Dreamed of how I'd spend the money. Employee came, told me the dial's spinny bits are just for entertainment. The real gambling happens inside the machine on a computer. Then she walked away. I cashed out and left. Edit cleaned it up for YA asshole. Former valet at a casino. The amount of daily regulars who drove barely functioning vehicles full of trash, roaches, and rats who would actually valet their car and go gamble away any money they had to their name was honestly depressing. The saddest I remember was a 90-year-old lady who drove a 91 Corolla, and when we got in her car we realized she had no power steering fluid at all and her steering wheel would barely turn. I have no earthly idea how her frail arms could turn it. We went and bought her some before she left that evening. My friend works in a 24/7 365 casino and has told me stories of regulars known for wearing diapers to avoid having to leaving their machines. They also get regular calls from concerned family members, friends of people who haven't been in contact for days, only to learn they have been at the casino for days on end. Gambling addiction is very real. I once watched a woman at an ATM go through at least a dozen credit cards, debit cards before walking away empty-handed. She looked so sad and depressed. It was such a sad thing to see. That was the last time I've ever been in a casino. Those places are depressing AF. I had a cousin who was a blackjack dealer for about 20 years. Unfortunately, she died unexpectedly in her sleep at 45. The autopsy showed her lungs looked like that of a 2-pack-a-day smoker even though she never smoked. Family friend was a croupier, earned more on luxury private cruises than her husband, the head chef aboard. No taxes at sea. It's not rigged, your odds are just so damn low they don't have to cheat you, lol. When I was 15, my parents took me to the racetrack, and a lucky win triggered a year-long gambling addiction for me that led to me missing an entire year of high school, robbing jewelry and cash from friends and neighbors, a hanging attempt where the belt came loose and I got 14 stitches on the side of my head, losing all my friends, beatings from owing money to bookmakers, breaking into random people's homes. Then my parents dragged me into Gamblers Anonymous. And I stopped, and my life went back to normal. Reading this thread makes me realize how lucky I was. Not a dark secret, but genuinely tired of people asking no. The table games are not rigged. The shoes are not rigged. There is no special button we can press to make you win or lose. I understand that you're angry that you've been losing and won't leave, but that is genuinely your fault problem. Don't work at a casino, but I did play blackjack with some buddies for about 8 hours one evening and we rotated through a few dealers. One of the dealers named Coach told us the number of people who drop dead on the casino floor is about once a month. He said you generally have older, heavier people come in overstimulated by lights and sounds and the excitement of getting rich. Pair that with smoking and drinking and it makes sense. Poop, apparently. Don't work for a casino in the aspect of being a dealer, etc., but the company I work for gets contracted to service network equipment on the slot floor. When we do work for the casino, we have to work when it's least busy Tuesday, Thursday, 2 a.m., 7 a.m. I would say the darkest secret is just how many people you know that have a gambling and/or substance abuse problems that you wouldn't expect. I can't count the amount of times I've seen people I know at 3 a.m. on a random Wednesday. When I worked at a casino, this was years ago, the meth addicts would basically use it as a second home. Free soft drinks and hot chocolate, penny slots, their friends were there to socialize with, nobody ever made them leave, it was horrific. They would shoot up or smoke in the bathrooms, break into cars. The owners knew but they didn't care. That was the worst job ever. The seafood in Vegas is not locally sourced. I worked in a casino for about 3 months. Whatever one's opinion on gambling, that casino was the most organized and best-run operation I ever saw in my 44-year career. They really had it down to a science. My cousin signed up for the bets off where you can be barred from casino in the state. He cried the blues for a while, he begged to be taken off the program, hired an attorney but none of it worked. His name is still on the no gambling list. Now he has to go out of state to gamble. Casino dealer here for 14 years. I now supervise pit boss. Suicides happen more than you think. If the power goes out, ours will turn back on before the hospital. Feel free to AMA. As a person who worked for a newspaper covering a casino town, we had a policy regarding suicides, only those done in public were covered. And even then, there were 1-2 people a year who dove off the parking garages. Here's a lighter one: the heavily carpeted floors of most casinos are great for dragging your feet and building up a little static electrical charge. Then you can zap your friends with a touch, and you can do this over and over. For added hilarity, say I am mighty Zeus each time. Last week I saw a guy saw that he had 5K on the machine. He got it up to almost 8K. We walked around, came back to see how he was doing still on the same machine. He had $35 left. One of the biggest expenses: chairs. You want nice comfortable chairs for sitting for long periods, and you need to replace them frequently when people soil themselves instead of leaving their game. It's almost as if prostitution is allowed. They typically have certain bars they frequent and some even have intel from the bartenders. Super interesting to watch the symbiotic relationship take place. But this is at a resort casino. Can't speak for every property. I had a friend who won $44,000 on a slot machine on time. He went to a pawn shop and bought $5,000 with if junk comic books, cheap jewelry, etc. Then within 3 weeks he lost all the winnings back to the casino. Went back to pawn shop to try to repawn the junk he bought. They gave him $700. He lost that back to the casino the next day. This is a guy who does not have enough money to pay his rent. He still goes to the casino hoping to win big again. Leave the group of Vietnamese men in the cellar alone. Was a croupier 25 years ago. Daytime shift on the blackjack table, had a regular who was a driving instructor. He said he had to leave soon as he had a lesson. 10 minutes later he said he has to leave or he will be late. 5 minutes later he said he's going to be late. 10 minutes later he cancels the lesson. Rinse and repeat for the next 3 hours until he leaves being down. People will cash in their old coins and 2 bills they were collecting just to have more money to gamble. One of the reasons slot rooms changed from plastic buckets for tokens to cards was that they'd invariably find buckets full of piss from people who couldn't bear to leave a hot machine. I'm in Vegas now. Yesterday morning I watched a woman buy 3 pints of Bartons in the casino gift shop. It was about 10 a.m. and she was way strung out. She was telling the clerk how the last couple of days, Thanksgiving included, were stressful because she's been in her apartment talking to her cats. Most of the time it's boring. The house is a grind taking money. I do remember one old guy who would play craps so long we'd comp him a room to shower. Dude stank of death. I am not a gambler, but visited my friend who worked in a casino. I won a jackpot on the nickel slots, after he pushed me to do it. He said he encouraged everyone to do it, at least admit that sound of metal hitting metal was deeply satisfying. And it really was. I have never gambled since. Oh, yeah, my jackpot was 22. Had a mini whale stand up and piss on a slot machine. He was asked to please don't do that again. No repercussions because he lost so much money over the past few years. Someone had a heart attack in my wife's slot section when she was a cocktail waitress and a woman refused to move while they performed CPR. He didn't make it and she stayed while they took the body away. We used to have a woman who would be on the blackjack tables for 5 days night straight. Her husband would call and tell her that her kids wanted her home. Her boss actually came to the casino to try and get her to leave. She was missing work. I don't know what happened to her, but she's probably ruined her life. We also had a few regulars commit suicide and a few go to jail. They turn a blind eye to prostitution and human trafficking as long as sex workers don't steal from players. Some sex workers are just working the scene, picking up customers. No big deal. Others are kept as slave companions, like a step down from mail-order brides. A high roller at a place I worked at had the scrawny Asian wife. She was always with him. I would overhear her whining and begging him for food money. Guy would get paid Friday afternoon, go to the post office and send himself cash via post to his home, then blow the rest gambling on horses. Monday his cash would arrive in the post and his wife would use that to run the house for the week. Rinse and repeat for 25 years. That no matter how many times you go or win, the casino always wins in the end. What's the quote? If you can't quit when you're ahead, and you won't quit when you're behind, then you'll only quit when you're broke. The loan sharks send young 20-somethings with backpacks full of cash for the high rollers. The kids think they're hot shit without realizing the lifelong legal risk they face. As casino staff, we aren't paid enough to give a shit to rat them out. Money laundering is completely looked over for the same reason. Why would I risk a mountain of paperwork to catch one guy laundering some cash when my shift ends in an hour? There is no bonus for catching these guys and no legal trouble for ignoring